What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? What the hell is that background, Seth? Sorry. Oh, did you? I just it just caught me off guard. I don't mind it. It just caught me off guard. Sorry.
You see, the NBA is rigged, so somehow LeBron James will be in there. Um,
Oh, Earl with the takes. I can't handle Earl takes sometimes.
See, if the NBA is anything like what I follow in WWE, LeBron James has a new
Oh
movie
my
coming
god.
out called Space Jam 2.
Oh my god.
So they have to get him all the big bucks. So somehow he'll make it in. And on the Eastern side, I don't even know who's there. Either way, they're gonna lose because it's LeBron and it's like a fairy tale story and some.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Because they're not good enough.
But now I'm actually glad you brought up the Hawks because my boy Tony Snell is the first NBA player in history to have a 50, 50, 100. And I couldn't be happier because I went to college with his mom. So 50, 50,
Can you,
one
Earl?
hundred.
Can you?
Yeah, yes, I
Okay,
can.
okay. Just making sure.
Um So 50, 50, 100 is 50% of 3 pointers, 50% of the field goals, and 100% of their free throws made. And go ahead, you're good. I was about to say that, but you're good.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he had a not a ruptured or a torn ACL. He had a like stretched ligament or something crazy. Okay, maybe. Mm-mm. No. See, I what I thought you were gonna bring up was what I thought you were gonna bring up was the stupid zombies that appeared on WWE Backlash on Sunday. Okay, well, if you do fast forward to that part, fast forward. The Miz is injured now. He tore his ACL, so he's out for 6 to 9 months. Um, Jacob is missing a very very good conversation right now. Anyways, by all means, bring up that Mark Henry interview because I did not see it. It was a legitimate strong arm move because Vince McMahon is like top five most powerful billionaires in the world. He legitimately hated Bret Hart because Bret Hart was going to jump ship and take the title with him to WCW, Ted Turner's WCW, um, wrestling. So yeah, I feel like that was a legit strong arm move by Vince McMahon. I do feel like that was the old Vince McMahon and the kind of dickish, douche-ish Vince McMahon. Now that Vince McMahon is older and realized that fans are what he needs, um, Jacob's wondering how long this conversation is going to go on. Um, yeah. So now that Vince McMahon's older and less of a jackass, he is a better person, I think.
Are we dead?
So,
Are we
so
dead?
like I was saying though, like I was saying though, the Miz did tear his ACL. That's his loss. Nope. I still feel like Harry Schwartz was my man of the match. Um, I do think that's what I said on Saturday night. I don't remember. That was a very, very long day. And um, I do have to take a step back though on our on our group text that we had when Jacob asked me how I was feeling. When I said I was feeling pretty chingon, uh, as soon as I stopped and the adrenaline wore off, and I came and I sat in my little room here, it hit me.
Did you cry?
No, I just sat here and just like moped around like, God, my freaking legs are on fire. My back's going off. I felt pretty bad that day. But anyways, back to the game. Yes, Harry Schwartz is still my man of the match, and if he keeps it up, he will be my choice for MVP.
Nice, nice. Two things. Um, Tyler apparently cannot figure out how to chat on YouTube from his phone, but he is messaging me on Facebook and wanted to say hello. He also said he cannot hear Seth at all, but he can hear me and Earl. So don't know what that means. Okay. Well, I'll chat. I'll chat real quick, or you fix that. Um,
There we go. That should be
yeah,
better.
I was okay. Tyler, let us know if you can hear him
Yeah.
now. I was dead Sunday for the most part. I was. I think it was just a combination of literally everything related to Saturday. So driving for 5 hours, setting up the field, the emotion from the first match in 575 days, the emotion from a win, just the adrenaline from everything. You know, when you come off that high and you got everything going on, it just completely you just get worn out so fast. So yeah, Sunday I was feeling a little bad. As far as Seth's question, um, he still says that it's uh, just seeing you, not hearing you there. Um,
Well, let me ask you this. So to give Tyler an opportunity to see if this is working, because I can see it working on my end now. For anyone that hasn't volunteered to help with that setup and help with the preparation for match day, what goes into that? Is that something that you would do that you feel like you could do on a regular basis, or is there a lot that goes on behind the scenes that most people just don't know about?
yeah, it's crazy. It is an insane amount of work. It yeah, he's Tyler said he's got you now.
Okay.
Um, thanks Tyler for helping us out with technical difficulties. Apparently, um,
You're
yeah,
hired.
yeah, there was like they had done so much already before we got there, and then like so when we got there, it was a baseball pitch with sod in the infield and on the pitcher's mound, and that's about it. So there were no goals up, there were no advertisement boards, there were no benches, there were no tarp by the benches. It was just baseball field with grass in the infield. And then behind the scenes, like in the offices and stuff like that, we don't know what's going on. But as far as what's on the pitch, it was there was a handful of us out there, and it took us how long there? 4 hours, Earl? 2:30 to about 6:30, basically. Um,
Yeah, because we started at about 2:15 or 2:30 we started,
yeah,
and then
about
we didn't
2:30.
finish till 6:15.
Yeah, and that was like nonstop, busting our butts. At least me and Earl for that whole time. Essentially, stopped to take a drink every once in a while. Rode around in a cart a little bit, but for the most part, man. And I give a huge shout out to Clint Gray and um, Katie Sobel, who just got an award for being one of the 25 under 25 in sports, which was pretty cool. and and then there was another girl there that works for United that I didn't catch her name, so I apologize. Brendan Morris was down there helping us out, and they all were. Clint was beat when we got there. He said he'd been going since 8 and was already exhausted. So it was a long, long day. And then we didn't tear down, and those people that work for United had to tear down too. So it's a long, long day for them, and it kind of sucks to watch them put all this work into it and to know that they put all this effort into United 365 days a year. And when we finally get a home match for the first time in 575 days, they couldn't stop to enjoy it very much. Clint, maybe he was up in the suites working the crowd up there, but me and Earl saw Katie, I don't know, 5 or 6 more times running around down there throughout the match. So yeah, it's a ton of work there, and I give them mad credit for everything that they have to do on match days to get everything ready from the pitch up through everything, the broadcast. We got Tyler watching us here who did a fantastic job with the broadcast, and I don't know if you've ever tried to call a game. It's not easy, no matter what. I tried to do it when I was little, and Tyler talked about how he's been doing it for a long time. Started off in Santa Rosa, just north of me here, calling calling games for them on the radio. So he's he's put in the work, and it's paying off for him. And it's good to see everybody at New Mexico United just thriving in everything that they do. And my hats are off to them for how much work it takes to do this thing here.
Yeah, definitely shout out to Tyler and JJ Buck who were on the call Saturday night. We've talked before about the quality of some of the broadcasts that we've seen across the USL. We know that not the color commentator, I guess, from the El Paso match. She seemed very robotic. I know she was new for their broadcast team this year. And then the match prior to that we watched, and just the microphone quality, audio quality was just absolutely terrible during that match. And I think that goes to show that there's a giant difference in the level of quality control that goes into, say, a New Mexico United production compared to some of the others that we've seen.
El Paso.
Yeah, El Paso for one. Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's all credit to the guys like, to Tyler and JJ and Andy and Adam and everyone behind the scenes that goes to work on that, and the guys at 101.7 the team who help put all that together. I don't think without them, and with also actually, I'm blanking on the name of the production company that came out and has been working with the club.
Clearview?
Not Clearview. The ones that did the preseason match. Windfire Productions.
Something like
Is that
that.
it? Yeah. I hope I got that right. Yeah.
Tyler will tell me in just a second, I'm sure.
It just goes to show the quality of the product that they're able to put out there, and that's just all part of the match day experience, especially if you can't be at the lab. And you can see the highlights behind us here. I mean, the club sold over 8,600 seats for this match, and even with the spacing, it's hard to pick out empty seats in here. And Earl, I'm going to direct this question to you. Being out there for the first time, and it's been more than 575 days for you since you've been out at the lab. And what was the match day experience like? I know we talked about it a little bit, Saturday night after the match, but I mean, really, like, give everyone listening an idea of what it feels like, what it felt like to be there. Was it an atmosphere similar to opening day of 2019?
So I said it on our extra time take right after the match. It felt like opening game, but better because I knew what to expect. So I knew what the club was. I knew what the fans were. I knew about the supporter section. Opening game, I was literally a virgin to soccer. I showed up because it was a New Mexico professional team, and I said, "Hell, let's go support the New Mexico team." So I was literally opening day March 9th, 2019, I was a virgin to soccer. So fast forwarding to this past Saturday, I knew what to expect. I knew what the crowd was. but I really didn't know because it was 575 days. Um, so the first time I heard the crowd yell when the club came out for warm-ups, I got some pretty decent sized goosebumps. And then when the national anthem played, more screaming, more goosebumps. And then when we scored our first goal, when Sergio scored the first goal, that was, to this day, I still get goosebumps. It was the most incredible moment that I had ever seen because of everything that had happened in the past 575 days or whatever the heck, how long it's been with all this COVID nonsense and stuff. Um, and just the year that we had had before to now, it was incredible. So, as a fan, if that was my first experience in soccer, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would. Even for me sitting up in the box, it was, I was up there with David Carl and a couple other folks from the club, and there's some folks from KOAT and like Ken Sickinger and a couple others were up there. And when I first got there, like all the windows were shut, and you guys have been up there. Those of you that have been up there know those windows are shut. But once those windows open up, there's such a different sound that happens. And I know that when we got our information from David ahead of the match, it was saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. This is what you can do. Like, no cheering. I'm like, and it's so hard as a fan. You want to be up there cheering. You want to be supporting the club at everything that happens, but you have to still try to remain impartial. And I'll be completely honest, like it's hard. It's hard to do that at times, because you get so invested in it as a fan and as someone who covers the club. I mean, we still try to be critical of things and when they come up, but at the same time, we're still supporters of this club. And there was just a feeling sitting up there, listening to the crowd as everyone filled in, as the curse marched in, and then when the 30 minutes prior, you had Seven Nation Army going off. And then you had the walkout music. You had the players come out for warm-ups. And it felt like that first day. It felt like that first home match. And yeah, it was an emotional moment. We talked about leading up to it. There's going to be this series of moments leading up to kickoff and throughout the match. And it was so hard to not like jump out of your seat when Sergio scored that goal, as we can see, the highlights going on behind us. But yeah, it's a tremendous feeling to be out there. And if you haven't experienced being at the lab, get out there, like get out and do this and try to get you some tickets and, see what it's all about. And the players talked about it a lot in the post match, that it makes such a huge difference to them playing in front of the fans. And, we asked Troy, how do you prepare the guys after playing in empty stadiums for an entire year? And he said, there's just no way to do it. There's no way to prepare people. So, it's I think this is one of the best sports atmospheres I've ever seen, I've ever been a part of. And I cannot wait to see what happens once we get back up to the ability to get 100% capacity.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. There was so much that you mentioned there that I could touch on, but I'll start off with Tyler's comment in the chat. He works 45 hours per week in the front office, and it's incredibly hard to stay neutral on the broadcast. So he said he feels our pain, which to that I just that just made me give Tyler so much more credit than I already do, which I feel like I brag about him all the time. But for him to say that, and then for me to watch our broadcasts compared to other teams' broadcasts and see just how neutral he is, it's like these guys, the guys for these other teams are just beyond Bush League. Whatever's lower than Bush League is where they're at, because or Tyler's just that much better than anybody else out there in the game. However you want to put it, he does a great job at staying neutral and not being that homer broadcast that we, especially last year, watching 14 of the 16 matches with broadcasters from the other team and having to go through just complete nonsense when they were up there. Like I remember Salih's goal against Colorado Springs, they were like nonchalant about it, and it was like one of the craziest goals I've ever seen in my life. So, um, he's just he's great. The team is great, and I will say that we understand that you're not supposed to cheer as media. Um, but me and Earl are lucky that the broadcast didn't pan just a little bit to the right after Sergio's goal because they would have got me and Earl hugging in celebration. So we didn't celebrate nearly as much for the other two. Well, actually, Earl wasn't even there for the other two. He was wandering around talking to somebody else, so we couldn't celebrate those two. But yeah, that Sergio goal, it was impossible not to celebrate it at least a little bit. So I understand the whole being professional. Earl thinks that everybody that's in the press box that doesn't cheer has no soul, but he kind of has a point there to an
This
extent.
is
But
very true.
I think if
This
the
is very
USL
true.
Championship had people up in the box with us, there towards the end of the 2019 season, like when we're playing Las Vegas, trying to get qualify into the playoff spots. We had the other games up on laptops, and trying to make sure all the playoff scenarios that could have played out. Where was United going to finish up? And I think we would have gotten in a lot of trouble with the USL Championship at that point. But and yeah, Tyler, tremendous voice for the club. Love hearing him on the call, and I think it's gonna be great having him and having the club back at home and listening to the call with Tyler and whoever's with him each and every week. And I, for one, am looking forward to that. Unfortunately, we don't get to hear Tyler live. We'll have to go back unless we have it up on our laptop or something while we're there. But I always go back and I always watch the match at least the second time. And Jacob, you mentioned the Sergio goal, so let's get into it. Let's break this down. To me, the Sergio goal, and it's going to come back up here on the highlight reel in just a minute. And this highlight package here doesn't do it justice. I don't know if you guys have gone back and looked at it since, but if you watch the build up in that play, it starts with a free kick on the left on what would have been our right side of the pitch at that time, coming towards the south end of the stadium. I want to say it was Harry that took the free kick. I don't. The highlight package doesn't say that. Doesn't show that. But the free kick is delivered across the pitch to Josh Suggs. Josh plays it back to Kalen, who plays it up to Juan Pablo, to Tenny, to Sergio, who plays it out wide to Harry, and then the cross comes back into Sergio. So you've got 6, maybe 7 guys that touched the ball in that string of possession, where no one even contested the ball from Austin. And here you can see right here, here's the cross into the box from Harry. And just tremendous amount of team play, and movement on that play to make it happen. I just didn't see, at that point, I didn't see Austin doing anything that could stop us. I mean, do you guys disagree with me here, or?
No, I think you kind of nailed it there. It was just it's one of those goals that are just the ultimate team goal. Um, and when you look at the preseason, we talked about having a very good offensive preseason, and this is one of those goals that we didn't see necessarily something exactly like it, but it was goals like this that are repeatable and that can keep coming in. Now that cross is like inch perfect to get over Devin and his defenders and find Rivas just sitting there waiting for it. But stuff like that, that ball movement and just the team working together as one unit are what's going to make the offense really spark and really be good all season. So and we saw a similar goal for the third one. It wasn't as many people that touched it, but that's because it didn't have to. So it was, I think Brown won the ball over to Suggs, Suggs over the top to Tenari with the cross to a wide open Mondo. Um, just that those quick passes to people that are in the right spots and they do the right thing with it. It's really really fun to watch, and I hope that we continue to see more of that as the season goes along and our offense can kind of gel and get better and better and better.
One thing I noticed on that first goal too, and it's probably not going to get a whole lot of attention outside of maybe us and a couple other places, maybe USL Tactics. But Dev's run on that play to come across the face of the goal, you can see him pull the defender
Hmm.
out of the center of the box there, opening up that space for Sergio. And I don't necessarily think that Dev was trying to be involved in that play. I don't think he was like calling for the header for the ball there to be delivered to him. I think his run, again, that pulling that defender out of the box, his attention is drawn away. He can't see Sergio coming in behind him, and I think that's just a super underrated veteran move by Dev, right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it's a great run by Dev, but I've watched it several times and it is just terrible defense by Austin. You have three players that just don't do anything on that play. You have one that like kind of hedges between Dev and Harry and doesn't know exactly where to go, doesn't do anything. Then you have two players that are trailing the play that just never get to the 6 yard box. Then you have one player that tries, but you see him run. I don't remember the number. We might be able to see it in the highlight here in a minute, but he tries to make a run to do something, but he's got Rivas and Mondo there, and he chooses Mondo, and the ball falls to Rivas. So it was just kind of bad luck on his part. And so it's number 7 that comes running in, and he sees Mondo, so he goes running there, and there's just nothing you can do about that at that point if you're number 7 for Austin, because none of your teammates are helping her out. So it is a it was a great goal. It was a great build up to the goal, and yeah, when it happened, like I told Earl, I was down there, and for whatever reason, I didn't have my camera out yet, and so I was like, I think I feel something coming. So I was like, I want to get my camera out. So I get down there, and of course, I get down there, and then that's when Harry gets the pass from Rivas, and so I pick my head up and I'm watching. So I didn't get any shots of it because I didn't have my camera out, but you just kind of knew as the match progressed that something was coming for us. It was just building and building and building, and then it finally popped off with the Rivas goal. And who better to score the opening match or the opening goal for the opening match at home in 575 days? It had to be somebody from New Mexico. It had to be Rivas or Dev or Suggs or somebody. And it to me, having it be Rivas, who talked so much about coming and playing for his hometown team and what it meant to him. So for him to get that first goal you couldn't really write it any better than that.
Earl, what was your take on the first half here? We've talked in the previous two matches, how United did not look good week one against RGV. Week two, they look better in terms of possession and what they from the eye test they looked better. Possession wise, stat wise, we seem to absolutely dominate Austin Bold this past weekend. And I believe I tweeted out at one point that we had like something like 56 or 57% possession at the end of the first half. And we just looked that much better. Was this more of what we were doing, or was Austin Bold just not that good?
So I think, and it's hard to say, trying not to be a homer, but I'm gonna be a homer anyways. Um. Uh. So I think that we kind of rode the feeling of El Paso and drawing 1-1 at the last possible second. And we rode that into the first home game back. Austin Bold, obviously, with it being hit their first match, there could have been some road sludge on them or some rust or whatever the heck it was. We looked incredible though. Like I'm looking at the stats now, 58% to 42%. I mean, we we went on a tear and we did not let Austin get into their game. And I think that's kind of what happened for El Paso is at the end of the match. we let them kind of build some steam and get to that point to score. We didn't let that happen here with with Austin, and even when they did score, we shrugged it off and we said, let's just keep going. Let's keep punching them in. Which obviously 3 goals. I'm pretty sure I'm right, but we hadn't scored 3 goals in God forever. Maybe once last season, maybe. Um, but no, to answer your question, we played a clean game because of the mess that turned out to be El Paso.
See, and I think you have to. As much as I want to give United all the credit in the world, and they deserve it. I mean, they played a hell of a game. Uh, I'm very curious to see what Austin looks like in 2 weeks after two more matches, um, because I think they're going to be a very good team. I think they'll still challenge for that for a playoff spot in our little division there, but they added a lot of new faces this year. This was their first match. It was on the road. It was in front of 9,000, almost 9,000 fans for the opposing team. So I don't think this is the Austin team that we're going to see the next time we face them. Even the next time we face them at the lab, I think they'll be way more prepared. So eh, kudos to United
But
and
to
just a great match.
not to
But part of that's part of that's got to be rust, I would think.
not to cut you off, but yeah, they played in front of 8,000 fans, over 8,000 fans. But those 8,000 fans are fans that had not seen a game in over a year. So there were 8,000 hungry fans.
Right, which just adds credence to my point of I think they were shook for lots of reasons, including that. So um, I think it was a great game. Uh, I loved the offense that we saw. Um, my my preseason team leader in goals finally got off the schneid because he finally got some legit playing time. So happy that Brian Brown scored. Um, and I think that we still have another level that we can reach, and that while it looks like it looks like we played so well, or we played like incredible. I think part of that was Austin's doing, and I think we can play even better as we continue to progress in the season.
Yeah, there's always going to be room for improvement. And while we played exceptionally well in this match, I feel like the Austin keeper Hugo Faru had just an absolutely terrible night. And
Yeah.
you watch his play, and he came in. He's a pretty highly talented keeper, and he just did not live up to it. And you can only think that he's going to turn that around. And I think our one like real slip up of the night was this clip that's playing right now, the one Austin goal right after halftime. And really, I think that just came down to the fact that Torres somehow got on the end of the backwards pass, and instead of Harry getting to it or someone else getting into it. And really, that shot was probably a pretty low xG. I haven't, I don't have access to the xG stats, but it was probably a fairly low chance shot there for that to go in. But do you put that on just a little bit of luck, or is that something that we kind of like checked out on a little bit?
Well, I think it's the same problem that we've seen with United, honestly, for kind of all 3 years, is that coming out of the second half, they just don't have the energy that they do when the match first starts. It seems like eh, we get the first match, or the start of the first half, we come out, we're just super into it, super amped up, and we usually score. We usually score first. That was what it felt like last year, anyways. But then the second half starts, and we just don't have that same intensity. And I think that was where the goal came from this week as well. It was 30 seconds in the second half, and we just weren't ready for that to happen right away. So it's a worrying scenario in my head that they just can't seem to find that gear right off of that. So um, we'll see going forward. Hopefully, it's something that they can work on and address. But it's been a few years now that we've seen it, and it just hasn't quite gotten fixed yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, and Tyler makes a good point in chat here. Elliot Panicho was signed on loan by Austin Bold from Nashville SC, and so there very well could be the opportunity. Hugo Ferru may not necessarily get the opportunity to see a whole lot of playing time, but yeah, whoever's going to be between the sticks for Austin, you've got to think that they're going to improve over this match. Whether it's Hugo, whether it's Elliot, that they're going to step up their level of play. Um, and then as our highlight reel gets back over towards the second half here, it's gonna show the Brian Brown goal. Again, a miscue from Ferru here, and the ball falls to Brian, who puts it. I thought just an absolutely beautiful chip in. And Jacob, you talked about it. Him. He hasn't really had that great of a preseason or a regular season so far. Do you think that this is the spark that he gets that he needs to really get him going this year?
I hope so. And I said it before. I think it was in the preseason that I feel like he's a guy that needs to be out there from the opening kickoff to really get going and to really be a factor. And me and Tyler have had a conversation that we didn't see the same thing from him in preseason. I thought he looked fantastic in preseason, um, and I think he's looked really good in his limited chances so far in the regular season. So I hope since he scored, he gets a chance to start, and if he gets a chance to start, I hope he kind of capitalizes on it. And I hope it leads to a spark still, and I hope he can be the player that I thought he was going to be coming into the season. Um, but I'm thinking that time will tell on that. It won't. We won't be able to tell until he gets a few a few chances, a few more chances, a few more minutes, and we can see what he does with him. But yeah, this goal, it was a beautiful ball from Ryden. He We got lucky that the keeper coughed it up, but still, for the keeper to cough it up and Brian to make that little touch just to get around him and to be free, and then as Tyler said in the broadcast, there's a little shout out to Stuart Scott, as cool as the other side of the pillow, just chips it over, and then Tyler mentions in the chat here he didn't celebrate after his goal because scoring's what he does. Uh, he knew that the moment that keeper coughed it up, that ball was going into the back of the net. He might not have known exactly how at that moment, but he knew if he once he got it to his feet, he was going to find the back of the net, and he did. So we need somebody that scores. We need somebody that will find the back of the net. Period. And I'm thinking that this gives him more opportunity, at least, to make an impact.
Do you think maybe in order to get him that playing time, we see him maybe platoon with Dev, or do you see him being put into the 11 in place of someone else?
I think it makes sense for him and Dev to split the time there. Um, or like I think it was the El Paso match. I had him starting up top with Dev, and then Mondo kind of dropping back a little bit, playing like that Weehan number 10 role. So I think I think Coach even talked about it in the pregame or postgame presser that we're a very versatile club and we can throw a lot of different looks out and a lot of different things. So um, I think we can see him in a variety of ways, and I think he can contribute in a variety of ways. So hopefully he gets that chance, whether it's up top with Dev or up top for Dev or something along those lines. But to me, he deserves more of a chance. You can't. I don't think you can announce his signing as a signing that's going to break USL Twitter, and then not have him get chances out there.
Yeah, because if you do that, you announce it that way, and then you don't give them the time, then USL Twitter is gonna come down on you with the full fire and fury that it has.
And USL
And
Twitter hates us anyways.
yes, yes, it does.
So
USL Twitter absolutely hates us.
any
So
chance that it gets to bag on us,
yeah, no,
they will do
yeah,
it.
like Tyler says, it wouldn't be surprised to see if Brown starts next match. Yeah, and that's the thing. Troy has said from day one that he is going to play whoever he feels is the best fit for that match. So there, we may not see the same 11 week in and week out like you do with a lot of other clubs. And that makes sense for a club like ours. You've got a bunch of guys coming in. We're going to see turnover every year. We're going to see, guys fighting for their positions. And looking at the talent level on this squad, any one of these guys could start any given day. And it's just incredible to watch these guys as they play. I know we still have our preview of Colorado to get to. So, uh, as we know, again, United won 3-1. Earl and Jacob, I'll ask you guys one more time. What was your moment of the match? What was the one moment that stood out to you as something that we can take and pull from going forward?
Go ahead, Earl.
That's hard. That's hard. So I think the moment of the match was Sergio scoring. I mean, he was New Mexico's Christmas gift. Um, and him scoring the first goal back kind of lit a spark under the club to score two more. Um, so yeah, I think Sergio's getting the first goal in there, not pushing it out like I wanted, because I do remember calling for like a 70th or 80th minute goal, and
Yes.
just hearing the lab erupt. Well, I was wrong. We got a 17th minute goal. Um, so for that, I apologize because I'm crazy, I guess. Um, but yeah, so I think, like I said, Sergio scoring that first goal and actually getting it in the net is and was the turning point what the club needed to get the fire lit under them that they seem to have lacked at the end of the El Paso match.
To me, the the one moment that I can take away and we can use in half of our matches going forward, anyways, is the just energy that that stadium had. Not only when Rivas scored, but even from the opening kickoff, it just the place was electric. It was buzzing, and it's only going to knock on wood. It's only going to get louder and louder and louder as we start to fill it up more and more. And if if it spurs this group on like it did Saturday night, whereas I think that first year the club kind of struggled at home, as weird as that sounds, they just let a lot of leads slip through there. And I felt like while they fed off of it, they also, I don't know if they didn't expect it or they just were never got used to it or what, but if this group can come out and feed off of it the way that they did Saturday night, then we could be unstoppable at home, which typically if you're fantastic at home, you're going to be a top 4 or 5 team in the league. Uh, as long as you're not just absolutely atrocious on the road, and I don't think we will be because we have 16 games uh, on the road last year under our belt. So I think they'll handle the road just fine, and I think we could be incredible at home. And if that's the case, then winning the group is a foregone conclusion in my head.
For me, it's not just a single moment. It's watching the build up and play for each of the three goals. We had three very different players score through the match, and I think it shows the depth that we have this year. That we're gonna have lots of guys that can score goals in lots of different ways. We saw Brian with the chip, taking advantage of a mistake. We saw Sergio and Amando scoring. I don't think we've ever had a match in our history where we've had two headers scored. I could be wrong on that, but I can't remember a match where we had two headers go
No.
in.
According to somebody on Facebook, that was the first time that United has scored two-headed goals in a match.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was or not, but
I think it was Alex Mansfield, but I'm
okay.
not sure.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to go back and look through all of them as deeply as I would like, but yeah. So we've got attacking options. We've got a deadly cross coming in. We've got Brucey. We've got Harry that can both deliver it in. It's going to be a lot of fun to see this team as they progress throughout the season and see what happens. Can we keep the momentum? Can we continue to outperform on the road? Can we continue to perform here at home? And there's a lot of positives to take away from this match. And I cannot wait to watch the match this weekend against Colorado Springs, which is, I think, where our conversation is going to go next. So that, of course, is our recap of the Austin Bold match on Saturday night. Looking ahead, Colorado Springs Switchbacks, they are coming off of a 3-0 win over 4-0 win. That's right, over SKC2. I haven't watched this match yet, but they've got a lot of new faces coming in into Colorado Springs this year. Some of the guys that we were looking at last year in our numerous previews are no longer there. They do have Haji Berry though this year. We saw him in the preseason match. He looked good then. He has looked good so far in the season for them. What are you guys expecting this weekend against Colorado Springs?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be their brand new stadium opening up, and I watched most of that 4-0 win against SKC2, and they look tough, man. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park like it has been for us over there several times lately. That Haji Berry is no joke, man. He had a goal that had an incredible first touch, um, and I think he's going to be really, really, really good and really tough for our back line. It's going to be a good test for Kalen and the guys back there. But all in all, if you look at the history with Colorado Springs and just kind of how we've owned that town and that state for the most part, I have a hard time thinking we're going to lose. But I could definitely see a draw. That's not my final prediction, but I think it's going to be tougher than some fans that don't pay attention to the offseason and to other teams' moves. I think they might think, oh, it's Colorado Springs. We're just going to go walk all over them like we tend to. So it, it's going to be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to it. It's Friday night instead of Saturday, so I get to watch it Friday and then have a weekend to do stuff at home and probably rewatch it Saturday if I'm not lying to myself and so it's going to be a good one. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, of course, Tyler in the chat providing us with some more stats here from the last Colorado match. And yes, Colorado had 3 goals inside of 39 minutes, 2 of which were pins. And SKC did go down to 10 men as well around at the 39th minute. Looks like that was a pretty contentious match there. A lot of yellow cards. And yeah, you mentioned it, Jacob. Colorado Springs had brought in a lot of new faces. They actually looked better towards the end of last season than they did early on. And I think we saw that in some of the results towards the end of the year. Now, of course, they didn't really compete for a playoff spot, but they did improve. I think a lot of it has to do with the coaching changes that they've made, the personnel changes that they've made. Earl, who do you see as being who do you see as being an issue for us to defend against? And do you think this may be a match where we see Troy move away from the 3-5-2, or do we stick with it?
I actually don't know. Who do we defend? I don't really know because I
Earl doesn't pay
I
attention to the league.
that too. Um, yeah, so I really don't know who to look out for in Colorado Springs. But even at that, I don't think Troy moves away from 3-5-2 or whatever variant of the 3-5-2 he went with the past couple weeks. Um, just because that's kind of his bread and butter at this point.
I was trying to pull up the highlights on my laptop here so I could take a look at these from the Colorado match. But yeah, I think
Yeah,
Colorado has made a lot of moves in the last, 12, 18 months in terms of,
I
again,
had them last year as a team that I thought was going to compete, um, and they just didn't show up last year. But this year, I know a lot of people. I don't remember which one it is, but there is a gentleman from the USL show who's really high on them. I believe it's Evan, but I'm not sure. And I can see why they have a completely retooled roster and brought in a lot of talented Jimmy Ockford as a defender there, who's one of the better defenders in the league. And then we mentioned Haji Berry. Austin Dewing played for them last year, and I thought was really good and got more playing time as the season progressed there. So, so I think that uh, there's no way we change from the 3-5-2. Tyler's over here in the chat talking about it, and the one thing that he said that I think is it's going to come down to how good Yearwood is in this match. Um, and he's been USL best 11 good in my head for these first three matches. And if he can continue that, then our defense will be solid enough where we don't have to worry about Haji Berry. But if anybody makes one little mistake, Barry will punish us. So I'm really looking forward to that matchup between Ryden and Yearwood and Barry, um, and hopefully shutting him down. And while we do that, we can't just focus on him because they've got some other names over there that can do stuff. So I think that with what I've seen so far, it's hard not to put RGV up there with what they've done. But I think I think my four are going to be New Mexico, San Antonio, El Paso, and Colorado. But yeah, and Tyler Ortega with a hot take here. Yearwood has been our best defender this season. Sorry, Kalen, he says, which I don't blame him. I he, Tyler nailed it because Kalen had a very sorry first game, and and Yearwood has been absolutely spectacular. So yeah, I'm agreeing with Tyler there, and I can't wait to see how Yearwood progresses. I remember watching him in year one, match one. The first half of the match, he was on my side. We were defending the goal by the curse, and I remember watching him going, I don't know a damn thing about soccer, but this guy is legit. And then he got hurt and struggled coming back, and I was like, well, I thought maybe I don't know much about soccer after all. But then year two and year three so far, he has been lights out, and I love seeing it, and I'm so happy for him. Uh, and I know that he puts in the work to become that good. So kudos to him, and I hope he gets. I remember last year, I think he got some team of the week honors, if I'm not mistaken, there towards the end. So I've been upset that he hasn't been in the team of the week so far this season. But if he keeps playing like this, he'll get there, and he'll be mentioned amongst the greats back there on the back line.
Yeah, Austin's had a fantastic few matches so far this season. I felt like he was our player of the match for match weeks 2 and 3, our first two matches of the season. And I think it's hard to really say anything other than that. I mean, Austin has made some just tremendous plays that there are a lot of other center backs in the league that they're not going to be able to make in terms of his speed and physicality that he puts out there. And Tyler, I don't think anyone's going to really disagree with you there. I mean, Kalen did not necessarily look great in the first match, even a little bit into the second match. He had some mistakes. He has I think he had 2 deflections result in 2 goals. And those within those first 2 matches. So it's tough to say. I mean, Kalen's a fantastic defender. He is. It just, I think he's been outshone by Austin so far this year. And Jacob, to your point about Colorado Springs, yeah, they're going to be tough. They were tough towards the end of last year. They're tough so far this year. And I think looking at their roster and what they've done so far, I think some of that goes to the Colorado Rapids management as well, that they're not quite as hands in the pot. They're not really stirring things up as much as we see other clubs do. I mean, obviously, LAFC is making huge, huge changes to the lights. We've seen massive loans right before their before their last two matches. We saw that with Houston Dynamo in the past, but I think Rapids do a pretty good job of allowing switchbacks to get in and just develop their players, which I think benefits these MLS2 squads more than anything else. Earl, do you think there's something to that, to the MLS squad staying hands off?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, one, it's good for the club because, like you said, it allows them to develop their talent. And two, it is good for the league because you're not bringing top level MLS players. For an example, Carlos Vela. I can only imagine if Carlos Vela were to come down to USL and could only hope that he'd land on New Mexico United. I doubt that would happen, but he would just tear the league apart. Um, there's one person I would not mind seeing him score on about 18 times, and that is Logan Kettle.
Yeah, but he's
Nope.
up in the MLS now.
Yeah, but he hasn't faced Carlos Vela yet.
Well, if the first few weeks of MLS are any indication, Carlos Vela is not going to be doing much. So
That's the second half of the podcast conversation that we need to have.
we can talk about that later if you want. But yeah, I'm excited for this weekend's match. Again, we don't know too much about Colorado Springs outside of what we saw down at Mesa del Sol. Jacob, you and I had a better opportunity to kind of gauge that. Before we close out the first half of our show this week, let's get our score predictions around the horn. Jacob, let's start with you this week.
Oh man, I want to go with what I've gone with most of the time this season, but I'm just not going to be able to do that. And I think until we get a clean sheet, I can't predict a clean sheet anymore. So I will say 2-1 with Brian getting another one, and let's go Cello getting one.
All right, Earl.
I think we run it back again and get 3-1.
3-1. All right.
I think Mondo gets a second. I think Sergio will get a second, and would love to see Swartz or Tenari get something in there, but I don't think that would happen. The third one just comes out of the blue.
I think Swartz more than Tenari, but yeah, it'd be great to see a couple more guys open their accounts. I'd love to see Brian or Dev or someone continue the streak that they've been on and just continue to produce, make good plays, and that's the big thing. I think 3-1 on the road might be pushing it a little bit. I think we get the clean sheet here. I think we do. I think our defense is playing better. You see the guys tracking back better. You see them making smarter plays in the defensive third. So I think 2-0. I think we get the 2-0 on the road, and we come back home to face Loudoun United on a 2-match win streak.
Yeah, not to look too far ahead, guys, but I was looking at the schedule, and Colorado, Loudoun, Monarchs, Bold. Those 4 games coming up, along with the Austin game that we just had, I would not be surprised if we were on a 5-game win streak as we went to San Antonio on Wednesday. Sorry, that's here. As San Antonio came here Wednesday, this June 16th. So I think a month from now, we could be on a very, very hot streak. Not 100% sure. There's going to be some tougher matches in there. Like I said, this Colorado one isn't necessarily a walk in the park, but and we talked to Adam Davis from Two Loud Adams about the Loudon match. I think that one goes our way. The Monarchs don't look great right now. I think that can go our way. So, and then we've already beat Austin once, so at home, and I wouldn't wouldn't be surprised if it happens again. So yeah, we have a chance to really make some noise here with this stretch of the schedule, and I'm looking forward to it. And it starts Friday night in Colorado Springs for their or their home opener, their stadium opener. There's going to be emotion there, sure, but I don't think there's going to be 8,647 fans that haven't seen a home game in 575 days emotion. So I think we'll be able to handle it as a team and could come out with that W.
All right. So I think that's going to do it for our New Mexico United show this week. Everyone in the chat here on YouTube, please stick around. We are going to continue here in just a few minutes with our sports discussion. We're going to touch on some NFL and some other things. But in the meantime, Jacob, get us out of here for this episode.
Yeah, guys, thanks for joining us here in the chat, Tyler. We didn't get our normal comments from Aaron Reeder, but I'm sure he'll listen at some point. And yeah, just like and subscribe to Somos Moss on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter. We're out there all over the place. We try to do the best we can. We are just three guys, two of which are dads, and one is a fur baby dad. Um, eh, I think that's what he calls himself. I'm not sure. Uh, and and so we can't always do exactly what we want, but we are here every Tuesday night at 9:30 to bring you United coverage and then talk a little sports afterwards. So keep coming back. Tell your friends, rate and review on Apple Podcasts and everything else like that. You guys know the drill. I repeat myself too much on this show as is. So um, Friday night, I believe it is at 7:30. I don't have the time in front of me, but watch United play Colorado Springs. Hopefully, come away with 3 points there, and we'll talk about it. We probably won't do the hot takes like we did, or extra time like we did after the home match, but we'll definitely have a breakdown next Tuesday, and then looking forward to the Loudon game, which we have a little special gift for you at the end of that episode next week, guys. So until next time, somos unidos.
All right, everyone. That was, of course, our New Mexico United discussion for the week. We're gonna hop right into our the next hour of our show. So if you're familiar with what we do here, we did change our format recently. We do our New Mexico United talk, and we want to make sure we give that the full attention that it deserves. We love the club. We want to do that, but we're also sports fans. We want to talk about the sports world at large, and so we do an extra little show. We're gonna call it Sunday Moss, to give you guys a little bit of an extra sports discussion each and every week. So let's get right into that. Welcome back to another episode of Sunday Moss. My name, of course, is Seth. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on the podcast. If you are with us here on YouTube on Tuesday night, you know that we just finished up our New Mexico United discussion. That podcast should be live in your podcast feeds already. This one will be live on Sunday mornings, or Sunday afternoons, I should say. So thank you guys so much for being here. And as always, you can join us live on our YouTube channel Tuesday nights at 9:30 for all the discussion, New Mexico United and the rest of the world's sports. On this portion of our show, we do talk about some of the biggest news from the sports world. So joining me this week, as always, Jacob Terrell and Earl Babyface Nieto. And Earl, you're not gonna leave this one down. At least you're not wearing the llama hat that look a little funny, little funny this week. He's got the llama hat. There it is, folks. YouTube exclusive. Earl wearing the llama hat.
I got this too.
Oh,
can you
man.
somehow attach that to your face to hide the babyness? Yes, that's what I want. That is
The
where it's
baby
at.
face is just throwing us off, man. You surprise us with it before the show.
Dude, that looks actually really good.
Yeah, it does. I think we have to once he's able to grow a full beard in, have him dye it white. Maybe that'll work. I don't know, but all right. So I don't know about you guys, but there's been a fairly good bit of sports news coming out this week. The biggest, of course, in my opinion, was of course the NFL schedule.
Seth.
Yes.
Seth, I don't mean to interrupt you necessarily, but But in the group chat when the NFL schedule came out, you had a little rant. So what I want to do now is I just want to give you this opportunity to complain about the Falcons schedule.
Oh, hang on. 1 second, guys, on YouTube. Something happened with our recording here. Apologies.
Are we good?
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, there we go. Yeah, we're good now. That was weird. I don't know what happened. I blame Jacob's internet. But all right. So as we were saying before our Zencaster kind of glitched out. So you were saying I went on a rant in our group text.
Yes. So you had some strong complaints about a particular team in the Atlanta area that you follow, that they kind of got screwed. So what I want to do first is I want to give you the floor to complain about that, just so we can kind of get it out of the way, and then make way for the team that actually matters out of the three of our teams to really have a conversation about them.
Okay, so I appreciate that. I'm gonna take the soapbox. I'm gonna step up on it for just a few minutes. And yeah, NFL schedule came out, as we all know. In the NFL switched to a 17 game schedule this season, with every team getting playing 3 preseason games, 17 regular season games, and as we know, the divisions rotate as who plays who every year. The NFC South gets the AFC South this year, and the AFC South is not necessarily the greatest of divisions. And but my big gripe with the schedule is that with that 17th game, every team basically had a 50-50 shot of getting an extra home game to basically play 9 away or 9 home, 8 away, something along those lines. Well, you look at the Atlanta Falcons schedule. They have 10 road games. 10. And only 7 home games. None of the home games are on consecutive weeks. Atlanta's 10th road game is, you could, whichever one you want to call the 10th road game, is the international game against the Jets. Like, this is just a terrible, terrible decision by the league, and in no way creates a fair opportunity for the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, and I know you guys are going to disagree. And I saw one person put out a tweet saying that the Atlanta Falcons had the second easiest schedule in the NFL this year. But I'm like, how can you say that and not? You don't seem to be taking into account, again, the road games, the international game, no consecutive home games. It's just a terrible schedule. Now, I agree the opponents are fairly weak, but this is just a terrible, terrible schedule for the Falcons. So, all right, soapbox. I'm going to step down, get off my soapbox, and I want to see what you guys have to say about that and about your team schedules as we get into this discussion here.
Look,
Yeah, it's hard for me to feel bad for you there, Seth. But go ahead, Earl.
the Cowboys start off with Tom freaking Brady.
The Falcons
Granted, the Cowboys will not go 8-8 anymore. We can now go 8-9. But I don't have any gripes with the Cowboys season because they're gonna suck either which way. So it doesn't really hurt my feelings anymore.
Yeah, Earl, you make me sad. You're just such a defeated Cowboys fan. And
Hang on, guys. We are here, folks. Sorry, our Zencaster glitched out again. Really not sure what happened. It may not be Jacob's internet this time. All right.
what the hell's going on here?
I don't know.
It's your internet.
Yeah,
No, my internet.
Earl's gonna blame your internet. I see. Whenever when that's happened, Earl's screen started like flickering green. So I don't know. I don't know what the problem is, but
So now it's Earl's internet.
who knows? But anyway, you were saying that Earl is a sad Cowboys fan.
So yeah, Earl's a sad Cowboys fan, and that makes me sad because I like the mouthy, know-it-all Cowboys fans who think that the team is going to be great year after year, and then just keep getting disappointed, but keep coming back the next year, all excited. I like those Cowboy fans. The sad Earl Cowboy fan is just it's not any fun, but it's not sad enough and not depressing enough for me to get distracted and to not be excited about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers season that is coming up and the schedule that they have and the fact that I think a chance at back-to-back Super Bowls is actually really good. Um, so they have their normal Atlanta, Carolina, New Orleans 6 games. Then they play the Cowboys opening night. I mean that's about the best gift the NFL could give Tampa Bay is just hey, we're going to start you off on a Thursday night and it's going to be against the Dallas Cowboys. So here you go. We got count them, five primetime matches or five primetime games for the first time in I don't know how long because we've never had primetime games because we're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But you look at the schedule, man, and October 3rd, Sunday Night Football, Tom Brady makes his return to Foxborough in what I think is going to be a fantastic game. And I really hope we just smash the crap out of them. And then it's a pretty easy schedule from then on out. I mean, there's really nobody on it except for the Bills in December that I'm like, oh, that's gonna be a tough game. So here's what I'm calling, guys. Here's my way too early season predictions for Tampa Bay. It's 16-1. Uh 16-1, and it's really hard for me not to go 17-0, but we'll get slipped up somewhere in there. So 16-1, the one seed in the NFC. And yeah, I'm so excited, guys. I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
I, so I attribute the primetime games to the Brady effect. That's what we're gonna call
Oh, yeah,
that.
for sure. Well, it's the Brady effect combined with the fact that we just won a Super Bowl. Because Brady was there last year, and we had some primetime games, but not as many as we do this year. But yeah, you get Brady plus a Super Bowl win under your belt, and you're getting primetime games left and right.
I don't know. I feel like when I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, and I'd have to go back and look this up. But I feel like after the Patriots won their last one, or after the Chiefs won their last one, they didn't necessarily get at a ton of primetime games. Now I could be wrong. Um, but there definitely seems to be a favoritism for the league with some teams. Like they love to see Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, on those primetime games, on those season openers, or the Thanksgiving Day games. And the Tom Brady effect definitely plays in to a lot of this here with that scheduling. And that's understandable. The league wants their best teams in positions to where, or in the time slots where they're going to garner the most viewership. So that makes sense. But if you look at the scheduling as a whole, do you guys think that they succeeded with creating fair and balanced schedules for the league this year, even after the change to 17 games? Or do you think that they still need to work on some balance issues?
Well, first I want to talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs had 3 Monday Night Football games last year after they won the Super Bowl the year before. Um, and then they had the Thursday night one that opens the season, which is a primetime game. So that's 4 already. I can't tell from what I'm looking at here if any of these Sunday night games were, or Sunday games were Sunday night games, but I'm almost positive they had at least one. So I'm almost positive they had the max number of 5 primetime games as well. So, uh, but you can also chalk that up to Patrick Mahomes as well as winning the Super Bowl, just like this is Tom Brady and winning the Super Bowl. But really haven't been able to look at everybody's schedule. Uh, but I think that you can't the way they do their schedule, the way they've always done it, with having 6 against your conference, 4 against a conference from the NFC, 4 against a conference from the AFC, and then your whoever from the other 2 divisions, whoever finished at the same level as you, whether they won or lost or finished second or third. Adding this other game, the only thing it does is make the home road balance kind of off. Other than that, I think it's pretty easy to get to where it's fair for the most part. So I'm okay with it. I think they did a decent job. I think we talked about it. I think when it came out that there was going to be 17 games, that I think that eventually they go to 18 games plus 2 buys instead of 1. And I really kind of want that to happen. So until that happens, I'm going to pay attention to the Bucks schedule, and that's about it.
Earl, what do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing that Jacob said. I feel like the schedule's pretty fair unless you're a Atlanta Falcons fan. Um, but yeah, I feel like the schedule's pretty balanced. I mean, you don't usually play any crazy team unless you're a Cowboys fan and you play Tampa Bay, um, Champa Brady, whatever the hell they call them nowadays. Um,
I haven't heard the Champa thing in there. That's good. I like that.
yeah. So other than that part of it all, I really don't have any issue with the schedule. I know the Cowboys will start 0-4, 0-5, and then somehow manage to be 8-9. And
Sounds
because
about
it's
right.
NFC, and because it's NFC East, they could still have a chance to win the division and make playoffs.
You could probably make the playoffs on the NFC East with like a 7-10 record.
I don't know. I think Washington's going to be better this year.
Potentially, I
And
think it's going to be.
Magic.
Dude, he's great.
I mean, Fitzmagic can do things that I.
Sounds like Jacob's internet.
Yeah.
Love Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, we know you do. We know you love Fitzpatrick, and I don't think there's anyone that doesn't like Fitzpatrick. I mean, he's gone into so many different teams.
See, I used to like Fitzpatrick until he went to the Redskins. I mean, the Washington football team, to be politically correct.
Yeah, make sure you get that right.
Here.
Yeah, we don't want to get canceled.
I'm not trying to get canceled.
Are they gonna actually get a team name this year?
I don't think so. I've read articles that say they're gonna stick with the Washington football team.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently people like it. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not. I think they need something, but if you want to say Washington football team, but by all means, if you have a positive reaction from it, if your fans are into it, who's to say? Oh, I did not realize this. I just saw this on ESPN.com. New England Patriots have signed Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's just like Tampa signing crap. Can't think of who the backup quarterback from last year. They re-signed him after drafting Trask in the second round. So I think it's just insurance, just to make sure they have a competent QB as backup, just in case the rookie doesn't pan out and their starter goes down. So,
do you think that could be part of the reasoning behind the Jags signing Tim Tebow?
No. I think he's just straight up tight end, just an experiment. And honestly, I'm excited for it. I think he's just a football player. He's just an athlete. So I think him being tight end, if he has any speed left and can catch at all, then I think he can have actually a solid year for them at tight end.
After being out of the league for so long, do you think he's actually able to make that comeback?
Yeah, I mean he's been in baseball for the past 4 years, I think. Made it to AAA for the Mets, so it's a different kind of shape. But he's not. It's not like he was me or you for the last 4 years, just sitting around eating Oreos and graham crackers and gaining weight. He was a professional athlete still, just a different sport. So I think he'll be fine as far as physicality goes. It's just if he can catch, honestly, because I've never seen him try to catch anything. So if his hands are good, and I think he'll be fine blocking. He's a big, strong guy. Uh, I'm excited for it. I know a lot of people thought it was just kind of a publicity stunt, and oh, it's Tim Tebow coming back to Urban Meyer, whoop de doo. But but I think he can actually turn some heads there, and I think he might surprise some people.
Well, I think the first step in that is he actually has to make the roster. Um,
True.
and I just don't know. I want to see how he does before I really give him an endorsement or not. Again, he's been out of the league for, almost 10 years now. He's been playing baseball, and can he compete at a high level as a tight end? I think if he had made that switch years ago, we'd be having a completely different discussion. But I just don't know if he can do it at this point.
Yeah, we'll see. Who knows? I don't think they would have signed him if they didn't see something there. So I think we've lost Earl for the night. He's been awfully quiet.
No, we were good. Sorry, I was watching some baseball.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of baseball, I was going to ask um, Seth over there how the Braves are doing now, because I haven't watched.
They are. I think we're sitting. I think we're second right now. Second. The season's been very up or down. Our pitching has not been very good at this point, and one of our best pitchers of the year so far broke his pitching hand, after punching the bench the other day. So yeah, he's going to be out for a couple months apparently, but we just haven't found the consistency yet. And our bullpen, it's really our bullpen that's been struggling more than anything. So we signed Shane Green, and we're going to bring him back, which I think is fantastic. I think we should have signed him before the season, if you ask me. But I think that we've got some guys that are going to be coming back here soon from injury. Acuna's hitting, Freddie's heating up, Austin Riley's heating up. So I think things are gonna look up once we have some guys come back from injuries.
Gotcha. And that's all the baseball talk. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Wait. So we're not going to talk about the Detroit Tigers throwing a no-no
When did they throw a no-no?
There have been a
Tonight?
couple no-nos
tonight?
this year.
They threw one tonight. Oh wow, that's been like
Tonight,
I think that's been 4 or 5,
Mhm.
4 or 5.
Something
Man,
like that. Yeah.
5.
Those dumbed down baseballs have really made an effect on pitching, I guess. Because I don't know if there were 5 all of last year.
I'm pretty sure there were, but yeah, no, there's been a lot early this season, and I don't know. I don't. It could be attributed to the change of the baseballs, but who knows? I mean, there have been some pretty good pitching performances so far this year.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching on YouTube, Jacob's about to get his ass kicked because he's torturing his wife,
Oh, she just hit me with a beanie baby.
and he completely deserves it too.
She just hit me with something else.
Oh,
I
that's
didn't
fun
do
to see.
anything. I don't know what I was talking about.
All right, so
I have video proof.
Fair.
So I think a lot of the rest of our show is going to be soccer based, unless you guys have something else that we can talk about a little bit later. But first of all, MLS is now 5-6 games into their season, depending on which team you follow. And I don't know about you guys, but some of these teams are looking a little surprising. I think Miami is looking pretty good so far. Atlanta has surprised a few folks. They're currently sitting 4th in the Eastern Conference. Western Conference, Seattle, of course, is on top. You got LA Galaxy, You've got SKC, Colorado, San Jose, Houston, and Salt Lake. Austin looked decent so far. It looks like they're sitting on 6 points, so they're not. Again, it's still really early in the season. LAFC sitting last. So
Yeah.
what's happening out there, Jacob? What's happening with LAFC?
Well, Vela is
Old.
not playing. No, he's not old. He's great. He just I don't know if it's a legit injury or so in week 1 he was playing like the 30th minute he pulled up said that he made a motion to get the trainer out there is what he was motioning, but Bob Bradley took it as sub me out. So he subbed him out. Vela got upset about it because he didn't want to come out. And then he hasn't played since. Actually, I think he might have played in the Seattle game. I think he might have come off the bench. I'm not sure. I haven't actually looked at that match because they lost. Um, but he just, I don't know what's going on there. So until we figure that out, then who knows what's going to happen? We've got Brian Rodriguez on loan. So they have a DP, a designated player that is out on loan. So they can't sign another DP to replace him, but he's not with the club. So they got to figure out what the hell's going on there. Rossi has been non-existent, even though he's been playing. Um, Atuesta has been good. Blessing has been good. The backline's been okay. It's just they just look off, and so I think that they'll still work it out. They'll still figure it out. Velo will come back. They'll figure out their DP slots at the summer transfer window, and we'll see them do something and make a run in the playoffs. But they're definitely not the LAFC from 2 years ago that everybody kind of fell in love. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people kind of fell in love with. And meanwhile, on the flip side of that, you got Seattle, who looks fantastic. Colorado is actually looking really good and is fun to watch. You know, we talked briefly about it at the on the USL or on the United portion of the podcast, but our favorite penis face made an appearance for Toronto, or not Toronto, for Portland Timbers. Had 3 saves, including a penalty, and got a shutout win for his first, which, of course, our buddy Jerry immediately talked shit about Ketterer doing that and Mizell having not played um, because apparently Jerry doesn't understand how signings work. And like I give Ketterer credit for making the most of his opportunity, but he only got the opportunity because Portland was decimating at goalkeeper, and they were like, "Oh crap! Well, we need somebody in emergency. I guess we'll call up this penis face." Um, whereas Mizell was somebody that a club wanted from the beginning and wanted on their roster for the season, and didn't need 3 injuries for it to happen. So basically, as we already knew, Jerry's an idiot. Ketterer looks like a penis, and he's a decent goalie. So nothing really changed there.
Yeah, I'm sure if NYCFC had a number of injuries, then of course Cody would get a shout. But
Yeah.
Cody was signed with the intent to be a backup for when um, Johnson went out on international breaks or for Open Cup. That's why Cody was signed over there, and so it's a completely different scenario here. You've got, like you said, you've got Ketterer being signed to an emergency loan deal because of the number of injuries that they've had out there. So you can't compare the two. You can't. And what's his face can he just needs to shut up about it. Like there's no smack to be talking. There's no comparison to be made.
It's pronounced penis face.
Okay, I apologize.
and the proper action is he could just like fuck off.
There you go.
I'm not gonna lie, guys. We are. Oh, I can't tell how many hours we are into this because of the timer on there. So let's see, 94 minutes into the stream, and I believe that is the first F bomb that has been dropped tonight. So kudos to Earl, who every other word on Saturday when we were setting up was fuck. So I'm glad that it took 94 minutes for him to get the first one in there. Uh, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting to see the way teams have handled stuff, and you know there are some teams that haven't played as well. I mean, Atlanta United has looked better, but not great. I mean, Joseph Martinez has got his first goal since coming back from his ACL injury. But Atlanta's not creating a lot of chances right now, and they actually just lost a player, Lisandro Lopez. They mutually agreed to terminate his contract so that he could retire after following his father's death. So a player that was brought in, expected to be a large part of the plans for this season, is now just gone suddenly. And so Atlanta is probably going to go out, and I think Lisandro was a DP. So if that's the case, Atlanta's going to have to go out and find another DP to bring in and fill that spot. So there's always stuff changing with MLS and with their rosters, and again, it's super early in the season.
Club names.
Yeah, club names too, by the way. Hashtag Save the Crew is back. That's a whole mess. I don't even know. Apparently, I don't know the entire story, but apparently the Columbus Crew front office made the decision knowing that the supporters group and that the supporters did not agree with the change, decided to change the name and give a whole new crest. And apparently the Nordec, the supporters group for them, came in and spoke with the front office, and I guess a change has been made, and the crest still isn't great apparently. So that's a whole mess right there. Like how can a front office be so out of it?
I don't know. Ask Phoenix.
Why?
What is
Phoenix sucks.
I was gonna say, what does Phoenix have to do with the Crew? But I don't know. But yeah, so hopefully they get that figured out. But yeah, my question stands, like, how does a front office, and I think we're seeing it with some of the Premier League clubs too, like they're just so out of touch with their fan base and what the fans want. Like, why would you just go and change a crest and a team name like 5 matches into a season? Like, why not do it during the off season and go with a rebrand?
That whole situation is just batshit crazy to me. You have a club that has a deep history in MLS. You had a movement called hashtag Save the Crew. You just won the championship. You just won the MLS Cup. You've got a bright future. You have a new stadium coming. And they decide to rebrand not right before the new stadium opens. Not this off season while they're working on building the new stadium and have the new brand and the stadium open at the same time. No, they decided to announce it in the early stages of the season before. I don't get it at all, and it's just really dumb. And like you said, just shows how out of touch front offices can be. Luckily, we don't have that problem with New Mexico United so far, but this one, yeah, definitely is just I don't understand it at all. It's one of the dumbest stories that I've seen in a couple years, and I'm glad that they brought the Crew back, and we'll see what else they decide to do, because the whole rebrand was kind of busted to me.
Stephen Duna, thank you so much for joining us here on YouTube. Yeah, so
Henry,
we are we're currently in our we're in our sports world discussions now. We were just discussing the disaster of the Columbus Crew and the rebrand they were trying to do here midweek. So that's what we're talking about there. And I mean, to kind of build off that, like, why is it that clubs right now, especially on the heels of the ESL, and I know that Columbus Crew is nowhere near on the same precipice as what happened with the European Super League. Why does it feel like so many clubs are out of touch? Like, is it all about the money? Is it all about just trying to give their I don't know. the a rebrand is different than what's happening over there. But I don't. Yeah, I don't get it. Like, why does it feel like you're so out of touch?
I think it's just about money. They just the rebrand is about money. The ESL was about money. It's they're just trying to find ways to make the most money, and I'll be damned if it alienates the fan base that is already there. So, uh, one of these days they'll learn, especially like if you look at an MLS team, that you're not going to get 1,000 new people to watch just because you rebrand. What's going to help you get more followers is just by making the ones that you have happy and having them tell people about it and them tell people about it and them tell people about it. So, I mean, that's how United did it. I mean, you can't tell me that United's crest is a thing of beauty. I mean, I love it, but it's it's a shield with 4 lines for the Zia symbol in it and New Mexico United. Like there wasn't a lot of thought put into that, but it works. And it didn't take some flashy rebrand ugly ass crest like Columbus is trying to do to sell stuff. It just took a good team with an excited, passionate fan base that just keeps growing. So I don't understand what they're doing.
Earl, you got any thoughts on that? No.
No, Jacob pretty much hit it. I mean, it's about money, and eventually greed catches up, and it sucks.
Yeah, it does, and it's the fans that really suffer. When management makes decisions that seem to be like we said, like you said, that are all about the money, that are all about trying to put as much money in their pockets as it possibly can, and I think that hurts. Like I said, I think that's the biggest negative impact is on the fans. And as far as talking about clubs, getting money, let's switch on over to the Premier League and the EFL Championship, where it's all but been decided who's getting promoted, who's getting relegated. Manchester City have, of course, won the Premier League after this past weekend, and being relegated from the Premier League, Fulham, West Bromwich Albion, and Sheffield United all going down to the Championship. And getting promoted, we know that the two automatic promotion spots are going to Norwich City and Watford. And in the EFL Championship playoffs, you have Brentford and Bournemouth having played one leg of theirs already. Swansea and Barnsley have already played one leg of theirs. Bournemouth have a 1-0 aggregate lead, and Swansea holds a 1-0 aggregate lead as well. The second legs of those matches will be on Saturday, May 22nd, and of course, the winners of those two will face each other for the third and final playoff promotion spot. So, Premier League thoughts. What do you guys think about the teams coming up into the Premier League for the 2021-2022 season?
Well, I love Norwich. I liked Norwich last year. I was sad when they went down, and what they did in the championship is just basically blow everybody away. So I'm excited for them to come back up. I hope they can add a couple pieces that'll help them compete, and maybe have a season where they can. I mean, maybe Europe's out of the question, but finish that 8, 9, 10 range, and just be a solid Premier League club for a couple years. Uh, a- as far as who was the other one? I had it in my head and now I lost it.
Watford.
Yeah, they were another team that was there last year. They didn't really excite me. Watched them a few times last year. Didn't really do anything, but Norwich, I'm definitely excited for, and to see the teams that are going down because they're pretty much all locked into place now too. I'm not really gonna miss. I think it's West Brom, Sheffield United,
And Fulham.
and Fulham. Yeah, so having not knowing any history about those clubs or anything like that, it and not following them closely, they're just I'm glad Norwich is taking the place of one of them. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. I think Norwich coming back is going to be big. I think Watford coming back is going to be big for them. I followed Norwich a few years ago. One of the Everton players went over there, so I was like, okay, well, I'll follow them a little bit. But yeah, I think those are two good clubs. They both really outpaced the rest of the championship, and I think the playoffs are going to be interesting to watch here. I didn't get to watch either of the other two, of the current league. Sorry, I didn't get to watch the first legs of the playoff matches, so I'm definitely going to watch the second ones if I can. Um, have either of you watched any of these? Do you know anything about the clubs that are still trying to come up?
No, no, I haven't. I haven't watched hardly any European soccer as of late with United starting, and I just had a lot going on. But try to keep up with it some. But the playoffs for who gets to be promoted to the Premier League is not very high on my list right now. I'm sorry.
That's understandable. Earl, have you paid any attention to it at all? Do you have any thoughts about who you would want to see grab that third spot?
I can care less about English football and like European football because we all know the Bundesliga is the Premier League.
Yes, yes, I'm with him
um,
on that.
I mean, Bundesliga is fun to watch, and we can pull up their promotion relegation too if you guys like.
No,
Um,
because I haven't paid attention to that far down
no, okay.
the the table for them yet. I, I'm
So
I'm curious to see, is Schalke uh, staying up, or did they just
last
continue to suck
place.
all year? Last place.
They're relegated. They have 18 or 16 points for the year.
Yikes.
So the bottom four are DSC Arminia, SV Werder, also known as Bremen, FC Köln, and FC Schalke.
Seth, who was it that you chose as your team this year? Was it Gladbach?
Gladbach, yeah,
Schalke. Was it Gladbach? Okay.
Gladbach, yeah,
They are number 8.
yeah, yeah. Their run of form the last couple of matches has not been good. So, uh,
My guys, oh, it's upside down.
Frankfurt.
These guys, Frankfurt is number 5, and they are playing for a Europa Cup position. And then, of course, Bayern Munich just won it all.
yeah, yeah. The Bundesliga was not. I think the top end of the Bundesliga is not terribly competitive this year. You're gonna see more clubs competing for those, second through fifth, sixth spots there. I think the same could be said for the Premier League this season. So I mean, if your club is going on to bigger and better things such as European competitions in the next season, congratulations. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens with these playoff matches. I do want to also note here one other potential promotion from EFL League One to the Championship. Sunderland are in the playoff promotion from League One into the Championship, and given what's gone on with them over the past few years, if you haven't seen the Netflix documentary "We Are Sunderland," go check it out. And like they just fell off the face of the earth for a couple seasons. They went from the Premier League down to League One, and they are trying to work their way back up. So I'll be watching that to see if Sunderland gets promoted or not. They have two
I'm gonna have to check
matches.
that out.
They have two matches coming up against Lincoln City. One tomorrow, and then one on Saturday. So be interesting to see what happens there. And then the last note that I had was congratulations to Leicester City for winning the FA Cup. I think that was kind of an unexpected result for a lot of folks. They did beat Chelsea in the final. It was 1-0. And I know a lot was made of the fact that their owner came down onto the pitch and the players were celebrating with them. And I think that the commentary around that was that ownership group is so involved and so invested in their players and what they're doing that they stand apart from the rest of the league.
Yeah, I've always liked Leicester City. They came in out of nowhere and won the Champions League. I think that was 3 or 4 years ago, and basically have remained relevant somehow since then, while not having near the budget as the top six teams in Europe have, and just continuing to find guys like Jamie Vardy and have him be at the top level as a goal scorer in the league, and they're just fun to watch. I mean, I'm a Tottenham fan, but I can see strong stories and whatnot when they come up, and Leicester City is definitely one of those ones that it's kind of hard not to root for them in some capacity.
Yeah, feel good stories are always fun to see. And then there was one other thing I read an article today. I think it was about Barnsley. Um, how so? I don't. Are either of you familiar with Billy Bean?
Billy Bean,
Billy Bean.
yeah,
Okay. So for anyone that doesn't know, Billy Bean, of course, was the GM of the Oakland Athletics for a number of years, and the book and movie Moneyball were based around him and what he did for the Oakland Athletics, basically taking players who were past their prime, looking at the analytics and bringing in guys like David Justice and some other guys who hadn't been playing well or were good at specific things like just getting on base. And like Scott Hatterberg was another one, and so on. Well, apparently, and I didn't know this, Billy Bean is part of an investor group that has ownership stake in Barnsley. And so they're basically taking the Moneyball approach to soccer. And so yeah, and so we talked about Barnsley a few minutes ago, how they're in the playoff promotion from Championship to Premier League, and so there's a fantastic article in the Wall Street Journal if you haven't read it, where they talk to the ownership group, members of the ownership group or some other folks, about Barnsley and what they're doing and how they're trying to basically apply the same analytical approach to football as Billy Bean did to baseball, and there's a really interesting piece and a really interesting part in there, especially how it talks about how Barnsley prepared for how they prepare for potential promotion relegation, specifically the relegation portion of it, by having a very strict budgetary guideline so that they could survive ever being relegated. And so last year they were on the verge of being relegated, but they were saved by like a 91st minute goal or something like that. And then this year they're fighting for promotion into the Premier League. So Wall Street Journal, the title is A Moneyball Experiment in English Soccer's Second Tier. Definitely worth taking a look at if you haven't seen that already. So just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
All right. So those were the topics that I had. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to discuss on this week's show?
No, man, I think I'm good.
Earl, you got anything?
Early.
Yeah, I got nothing.
All right. Well, that sounds like it's going to do it for us here tonight then. Thank you everyone for watching. Jacob, get us out of here.
All right, guys. So that was Sunday Moss. We talked a little bit about all the other sports going on, and it's kind of a dead time for the most part. We got Premier League wrapping up, the other European leagues kind of wrapping up, but they're pretty much already a done deal. We already know who's going where and whatnot. We do have some hockey playoffs and some soccer playoffs, but as I learned earlier today, these guys know nothing about hockey, and it's kind of disappointing. So
We also have WWE.
we're talking about sports here, Earl. I thought he'd have a comeback for that, but apparently not. So yeah, now Earl, you threw me off with your WWE comment. We'll be back next week. The first half, like always, is New Mexico United, but the second half We'll talk about some other stuff. If there's anything that you guys want us to talk about in the second half of Sunday Moss, let us know. You can reach out to us on social media, Somos Moss NM across all platforms, or reach out to Earl Seth or myself on our personal platforms, or some of you like Steven Doonan, aka Henry, uh, can just text me if there's something you want to talk about. If it's Warhammer, who knows? Well, just let us know so we can do some research on it before we actually come on here. But yeah, I enjoy it. I think as we streamline things, once United gets to where it's not quite as new, we'll probably be spending a little more time on Sunday Moss stuff because it's past Earl's bedtime. Don't let the baby face fool you. Or actually, no, do let the baby face fool you. He is a baby and needs his beauty rest more often than not. So we'll be back in a week from now. You can join us typically around 10:45, 10:30 is when Sunday Moss will start. And so if you're not into United Talk, then join us then. And I can't really end it with until next time, Somos Unidos, because we're not talking about New Mexico United. But screw it. Until next time, guys, Somos Unidos.
All right, everyone. That is going to do it for us this week here on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Big shout out to Tyler Ortega, to Henry, I guess that's your name,
Yeah,
for hanging out
that's what I know him
and
as.
chatting with us tonight. We appreciate each and every one of you. And like Jacob said, we'll be back live Tuesday night doing United and Sunday Moss. And keep an eye out on our website later this week. We're going to have New Mexico United preview, New Mexico United recap, and maybe Jacob will give us an update on our prediction game that we have going on. So,
Oh, yeah.
so anyway, thank you guys.